Hi, I'm Allie. Join me in making this Laura Bracelet featuring our Potomax Halo Beads. Remember, if you need any supplies, check out below the video the links to shop with us online. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin our design, we're going to be using a cut button along with some one-hold halos and 6mm pearls. I have two colors of 15-0 seed beads, both Miyuki brand, utilizing the new translucent colors. This one is Thistle, and then I just have silver-lined root beer, along with 1/8-0 seed bead, again utilizing those translucent, and this is translucent celery. I also have here some 2mm Potomac crystal bicones in the light amethyst AB. I'm using two size 12 needles along with some .006 green Dragonthread. I'm going to start with that 5 feet, 2 needles on, one on each side of that 5 feet, with 115, 1 2mm, and 115 in that purple thistle color. I'm picking that up with my right needle and letting it drop down to the bottom or the base of that thread, which will be in the middle of those two needles. Put your needles on then, going through the bowl side of the cut button out toward the back, and pull the needles at the same time, making sure that you have equal amounts of thread on either side. From here, I want you to add 115 on both left and right needle, and then followed by 2 of my 8s on both the right and the left needle. After that, we're going to pick up 1 2mm bead, and my needle you'll see here is going from the right to the left through that bead, and then I'm going to take the opposite needle from the left to the right, crisscrossing through that single 2mm bicone, pulling the needles and the thread at the same rate, so that way again I have the same amount of thread on each side. That's going to be how we add our button. We're going to reinforce this button, meaning we're going to take these threads back around and back through the button here. And I'm going to do it with both the right side and the left side. So what that means is here on the right, I'm going to take this right needle up through the 2 8s, through the button, through the 15-0 before the crystal, through the crystal, through the 15-0 after, as well as through the button, through the 15, the 2 8s. And then my needle is going to be in the exact same position going through that crystal. So I've done it with the right side. Now I'm going to go through and do it with the left side as well. So that way we make sure we have 3 passes through our button. Once we're done with that, we're going to be in this exact same position, ready to start our design. After reinforcing that end of our clasp, what we're going to do is put on one needle, a 115, 1 8, followed by 2 15s. That's on my right needle. On my left needle, I have 115, 1 8, 115. The left needle, I'm going to take my needle and cross through that second 15-0. And that's going to make another little crisscross section. From here, we're going to get ready to add our first one of our halo beads. Pick up your halo as well as your first pearl, and you can use anything in the middle here. And I'm going to sew through with one needle through the halo pearl halo, and you can see how simple it was to get those lined up. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other needle. This is once again a great time to take inventory, making sure that you have the same amount of thread on both sides. From here, we're going to decorate the sides of our halo beads. So we're going to be utilizing our 15s and our 8s for this, as well as our 2mm crystal. Because we are doing 2 needles, everything that we do on one side, we are going to do on the opposite side as well. So here at the top, I'm going to grab 3 of my 15-0s in that thistle color. Then I'm going to grab 2 8s, followed by 1 of my 2mm pearls, followed by 2 8s, and then only 2 of my 15s. The reason only 2 is because I already have my third one right there that I've already added. I'm going to sew through then all 3 of the 15s that sit below the halo, and leave that what was right needle over on the left-hand side. I'm going to poke that into my bead mat, pick up the needle that's currently at the top on the left, and do the exact same thing, exiting after those 3 seed beads right along the bottom. So coming out the bottom here, you can see I've already done it on the right side. I'm going to do it on the left here. In addition to those 3 beads, I'm going to sew up through the rest of the 15s as well as the 2/8. And then I'm going to decorate the outside of that 2mm crystal with 2 of my 15s in my translucent purple color, that thistle, and then 1 of my silver lined, and then 2 more of the purple. Those 5 beads go on, and then I'm going to sew through the 2 8mm followed by the 3 15s. And then what I'm going to do is add in 1 more 15. It's going to create kind of a link between that space. To keep that 1 intact, we are going to go in and just add that 1 in a different color just so you can keep track of it. Taking the other needle now, that was just kind of waiting for me there at the top, I'm going to go through the 3 seed beads that are already there. So it's just coming out the 8. And then once again, I'm going to come out through that center 15. So you can see how that lines up. Now what we're going to do is our connection point. So the connection point, I'm going to further my needle through the 1 15 right after that silver lined root beer color. I'm going to do the same thing with the needle on the other side. So we're exiting through the right and left of the 3 center beads. You can see that thread there exiting right and left. Here's where we're going to go in now, and this is our opportunity to add in our connection point. The connection point is going to be an X with our 8 seed beads, and then we're going to come back and add in some of our 2mm crystals to give it a little bit more of that purple pop. So I've jumped ahead a little bit so you could see that connection point in action compared to the sample as well. But it's the exact same thing repeated over and over again. So we're exiting through the top 3 15-0 seed beads. And I have my needle in my right hand and my left hand. Obviously, if you're not as ambidextrous, just put your left needle down, do it with your right, and then pick it up and flip it over. So I'm going to take my needle and put 1 8 seed bead on both the right and the left. Then I'm going to cross through, meaning one needle is going from right to left and the other left to right through my next 8 seed bead. Dropping those down next to my design. I'm then going to repeat the same thing, picking up 1 8 on the right and 1 8 on the left hand needle. On the right needle, then I'm going to pick up a 15 in the thistle, 15 in the silver line, 15 in the thistle. And then same thing, I'm going to take my left needle and cross through those same 3 15-0 seed beads. What that's going to do is get us this nice Xing effect that we're going to utilize for our center connection. From here, on both the right and the left side, I'm going to take my needle down through the 8-0, grab one of my 2mm crystals, and go through the 8-0 that sits laterally below it. Do that on both the right, and sitting this down and grabbing my left needle again on the left side. Once you go through the 8 seed bead that sits directly below it, so we're not going through that center one at the X. Oops, missed my 8 there. So there's a mistake you want to make sure to avoid, is that when I added here, by accident I forgot to go through my 8 coming out of my 15s. Keep this clip in there, so that way you don't make the same mistake. All right, now that I'm out through that 8 then add the 2mm and then go down through the 8 that sits laterally below it. And see how you get that nice X effect. From here, take your thread and needle back through those middle 3 beads again. So it's going to be purple, brown, purple. And I'm taking the needle that's on the left, going toward the right through those 3 beads. The needle that's on the right goes to the left through those 3 beads. Now I'm usually doing this all with one needle for a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll do the other needle. Right now the needle that's on the right then is going to go up through that green celery 8/0, not through the 2mm. We're going to decorate the exterior of the 2mm with 5 of our 15/0s, and you can choose whichever color you want to use. I'm using that root beer color, and then I'm going to go back up through the green, back through my first 15/0 in the purple, and through that silver lined 15/0, and then let my needle and thread sit there. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side here, going up through the 8/0 after those 3 15s, adding in my 5 seed beads, and then progressing up through the 8, through the first purple 15, through the brown 15, and that is our center connection point. From here, we're on repeat. So we know we're coming out of that 15/0 in that silver lined root beer color, and now we're getting ready with our next halo to put that on, and then start decorating one side, then the other side as we progress with the design. Always, if you're having any issues that you want to re-watch the section, make sure to look right directly below me at that little timeline, and you can bounce back to the beginning, looking how we're coming out of that centered bead, and we're creating and adding in our next halo bead. Coming down the side on the right, coming down the side on the left, crossing through, coming back up, adding the 15s, and so on. So you can always repeat that section of the video by kind of rewinding the video to that specific spot and then watching these sections again. After you have approximately 8 of your halo beads on, it's time to do the clasp. To do the clasp, we're going to do it the exact same as we did the cup button. So the loop is going to mirror the other side. And coming out of the last 3 seed beads, again, my needle is coming out on the left and the right of those 3 seed beads. I'm going to get ready to do a loop for my button to fit into. To do so, I'm getting one of my 8/0 seed beads and one of my crystals on the left needle, and on the right needle, 1 8/0, and then crossing through that same crystal. I'm now at a point where I can make a loop. That loop I'm going to go ahead and make with my 15/0 seed beads in my purple color, and you're going to want about 28 of those on your thread and needle. Once those go on your thread and needle, you're going to do the same thing as you did with the button, reinforcing and taking the second strand through that loop. So just kind of nice opportunity to clean up your bead mat, get enough that it fits around the button, but you don't want to make it too big that the button is going to escape from the loop. If you have a Potomac's clasp or a toggle or anything like that, you could use a wire guard here in order to make it so that the thread doesn't directly go through the metal. Now that I've got all my seed beads on my thread and needle, I'm going to take this needle and thread in hand and go back through that same 2mm bead, grab the other side. We're going to take that through all of those seed beads to reinforce. Once I have this through all those seed beads, I'm going to grab the other strand back again and take the thread through one more time. So again, I have 3 loops going through my clasp section at the end. After that, we're going to bring our needle and thread back to the same location, tie it together, and burn off that thread end. When you're going through and reinforcing this, you want to make sure that you don't miss any beads, and you can usually tell right away if you happen to by accident miss some beads because it'll kind of pop out separately from the side. Once you're done reinforcing, again, we're going to go through one more time. I'm going to show you how we're going to end this. We're going to pull, make sure we don't have a lot of extra thread showing. Notice I'm pulling the thread and not the needles. From here, I'm going to take my thread and needle down the right hand side, 8/0 seed bead, across those 3 beads, and let that thread sit out there. The opposite thread going down the 8/0, and now guess what? My thread is at the same location, coming from opposite directions. So I'm just going to take those 2 thread ends, right over left, left over right, tie them in a nice knot, and I'm going to repeat this 4 times. So right over left, 1, left over right, 2, right over left, 3, and then obviously number 4. With this thread and the color of this celery seed bead, I'm really not going to worry about hiding the knot because it matches almost identically. But if you want to, you can take that needle and thread, go back through a section of your bracelet, pulling the thread to opposite sides, grabbing your burner here, burning down the thread. And the dragon thread is treated thread, so it's going to have a nice burn to it. And burning down the edges here makes that knot stay put. And that finishes up your design. When you're looking at it too, you can see how nice and pretty those kind of fall flower colors sit on the wrist, as well as how different it looks in different colors when you're making the design. So don't forget to comment below and let us know any changes that you made, if you switched out for crystals, if you even used an 8mm bead in the middle, which you can do in place of the halo and the 6. Thanks so much for joining me in this Laura bracelet. Remember, if you want to, you can use 8mm in place of the halo and the 6mm pearl and change up the design with some round beads, some bicones in larger sizes, and really have fun making it your own. If you do make any changes, give the Potomac beaders out there watching a heads up by commenting below the video. Again, if you need any supplies, below the video right now is the description. Click that little down arrow to show more, and you can get links to shop with us online. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy your next inspirational video.